Well, gentlemen, it appears shore leave has been canceled. Pack out your trash.
In the past few days, while writing this review, I came across another reviewer that did his best not to dunk on a movie that was clearly needed to be dunked on. What I mean to say is, even in a franchise that you actually love, you'll come across a movie or a TV episode or even an entire season of television that you don't actually like. As a reviewer or a critic, it is your duty to be honest because it reflects on your opinions on everything else that you say. I love the Star Trek franchise, but there are things about it that I don't like, and I don't think it's very well put together. Case in point, The Final Frontier. I'm Meffistoe, like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of the movie Star Trek: The Final Frontier.
Greetings, Captain.
Spock! What are you doing in this neck of the woods?
I guess I've kind of spoiled the conclusion of this review, but what the hell, let's get stuck into it. The movie was kind of doomed from the start. It stems from the issue that began with the making of Star Trek IV. William Shatner didn't want to make another Star Trek film, and in order to convince him, he signed a deal with a favored nations clause, meaning he would get an equal pay and treatment to Leonard Nimoy. When Nimoy took on the director's job of The Voyage Home, Shatner was promised a similar and equal job, and he got it by directing The Final Frontier.
I could use a shower.
Yes.
And just like Nimoy, he had a lot of saying about the story. Shatner is a great actor, but he proved that storytelling and direction are not really his strong suits. The story of the movie begins far away at a planet called Nimbus 3, as a messiah-like figure gathers followers and takes over a town that inhabits 3 ambassadors from the 3 greatest empires: Romulan, Klingon, and human.
Our governments will stop at nothing to ensure our safety.
That's exactly what I'm counting on.
Meanwhile, the crew of the Enterprise are on shore leave, awaiting a newly built Enterprise 1701A, as they are brutally interrupted by Starfleet and are being recalled to investigate a distress signal.
Captain, we've received important orders from Starfleet Command.
Why didn't you beep my communicator?
You forgot to take it with you.
Once on Nimbus 3, they are ambushed by Sybok and his followers. Sybok, the messiah-like figure, is discovered to be Spock's half-brother, as he forces a takeover on the Enterprise and directs them to the Great Barrier. Sybok is in search of paradise, or Shakari, and he believes that it is past that barrier.
Don't you have anything to say to me?
You are under arrest for 17 violations of the Neutral Zone Treaty.
And all this time, the Enterprise has got another bird of prey at their backs, trying to settle old scores between the Klingons and Captain Kirk.
Enterprise. This is Kirk.
Kirk! Don't turn back!
Despite the fact that it is ranked the lowest of the original 6 by many people, I still prefer it to the motion picture. I honestly do. It is not well put together, and the story is rushed and convoluted, but at least it's not as boring as the motion picture. Sybok, Spock's half-brother, is portrayed as a Vulcan with feelings, a Vulcan obsessed with something unattainable. The character was inspired in parts by televangelists, but that part was mostly played out in the beginning of the movie and not following through with it all the way. To me, Sybok seems to be a petulant child in adult form, chasing ghosts only to realize at the end the extent of his own delusion, and only then he finds his own redemption.
This is my arrogance, my vanity. Sybok, we must find a way. You must save yourselves.
The chasing Klingons were ineffectual when it comes to being a main villain. They were there throughout the film and had a little bit of that danger element, but in fact, they were a massive setup and a payoff not for their own sake, but for the sake of the crew of the Enterprise.
So it's me you want, you Klingon bastards. What are you waiting for?
It was all done to highlight Spock's actual role in this movie because the end scene of this movie is reflecting the opening scene of the movie, just without the rocket boots.
Perhaps because it is there is not sufficient reason for climbing the mountain.
I am hardly in a position to disagree.
There were a lot of things that were planned for the ending scene of this Great Barrier. The initial thought was to have angels and demons, but Shatner thought it would be just too close to the Judeo-Christian faith, so he wanted a rock monster as a final villain. But that, of course, was cut away from the film, and they kept the godlike figure for the final confrontation. The rock monster, however, was enshrined in a movie that came out 10 years later, Galaxy Quest.
What is it? You look like you've just seen a ghost.
Perhaps I have, Captain. Perhaps I have.
But putting the rock monster aside, there were a lot more of these questionable things, like questionable dialogues, things that didn't make sense, like Uhura doing this seductive dance, and other comedic or semi-comedic scenes, like Scotty's mini rant about his own capabilities and proving that he is not capable.
Scott, you're amazing. There's nothing amazing about it. I know this ship like the back of my hand.
My personal favorite scene in the movie is where Sybok is trying to convince the trio to go on his side. He shows McCoy and Spock traumatic events from the past, trying to convince them to let go of their fear and be on his side. It ends up with Kirk's powerful speech about why Sybok won't be able to exert that kind of power over him.
They're the things we carry with us, the things that make us who we are. If we lose them, we lose ourselves. I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain.
I think that other than that particular scene, the movie feels like a filler episode in season 3 of the show. It is still Trek, and it is still written way better than all the new Trek shows, and probably most of the TNG movies, but when it compares to the other Star Trek movies of its time and their quality, this movie kind of flops like a wet fish. The movie also had one big major problem with it. It was released a week and a half before the biggest blockbuster of that summer, Tim Burton's Batman, also known as Batman '89. It just sucked all the attention and left The Final Frontier empty-handed. I was 10 years old when The Final Frontier came out. I only saw it on VHS a year later, but I most definitely saw Batman in the theaters that year. Despite the fact that I don't think this is the greatest movie ever, I do urge you to go and watch it only if you've seen the first 4. As a standalone sci-fi movie, it is a bit weak, but you can watch it without any Trek knowledge, mostly because it's not connected to the previous 4 or the next installment.
Stand by to execute Emergency Landing Plan B.
What's Emergency Landing Plan B?
I don't have a clue.
I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button to help me out and beat that algorithm. Check out other reviews that I've done in the past, or check out our live Saturday show where we cover all sorts of amazing films. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.